All right, yes sir, yes sir. This is the Bear Show, and I am your host, Hubert Caston. I am live with insurance extraordinaire. Um, we have a personal bond and connection. He's my family, but he's most importantly just a true professional when it comes to insurance. Super knowledgeable. I want to welcome my bro, Mister Aram Roubinian, to the show. What's going on?
What's going on, Jabir? Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for having me on. Actually, you know what? I got as you can see, I got the bear in the background here. This was my father's. He used to have this in his law office, so I wanted to make sure I got the bear here to represent the bear. And
Come on, man.
let me do since we're in the agriculture business here. This is one of our awards here, and they might be able to get the background because the background was looking a little bit bland there. So I just want to make sure we get something in there real quick.
I like it. I like it. I like it. So so MIV, Malloy, Emery, and Vasconi Insurance Services. That is the brokerage you work for, correct?
Yeah. So I work for Malloy, Emery, and Vasconi, and for short, we call ourselves MIV. Um, we've been in the insurance business since 1890, and we started off in Napa Valley insuring wineries. And basically, the founders literally wrote the book on in winery insurance. Of course, we've grown since then. Our purview has grown, so we do also uh, generalize in all kinds of personal line and commercial line insurance as well.
Oh, nice. So throughout all different kind of business
Mhm.
sectors, including like home insurance
Mhm.
and everything like that.
Yeah. So homeowners, I mean, as you can imagine, many wineries and winery owners have homes, and their employees have homes, and so as Napa grew and as the company grew, we definitely have some high value clientele within Napa Valley and the surrounding areas, as well as the workers that work day to day operations for the wineries. So from anywhere from the winemaker and wine educator in the tasting room up to the winery owners as well.
Oh, nice, nice.
Mhm.
So when it comes to insurance, I think a lot of people, I mean, we all have insurance in some form, whether it's
Mhm.
medical, home, car insurance. Why don't we go over and talk about the basics of insurance?
Yeah. So insurance is like the primary method for people to manage their risk, and so um, you know, as you mentioned, there's health insurance. I think that's what probably people think of first. Maybe health and maybe auto insurance because everyone has those, right? Even going down to a little kid. But if you're someone that owns a home or you go into a rental situation in the lease where you require to have renters insurance, you start realizing there's more and more layers to it. So at your basic entry level insurance, I'd say you've got your property and your casualty slash liability insurance. Your property insurance protects the assets you own. So homeowners, auto, renters, condo insurance. Um, and what a lot of people don't realize too, property is defined as anything you own. So within your home, within your condo, within your rental unit, it's all the stuff. It's the family heirloom bear. It's the computer that we're talking on. It's your cell phone, your purse, your clothes. This is all considered property. Um, and then you've got your casualty insurance. Your casualty insurance protects you or your family members from a financial loss resulting from illegal action. So, if your dog bites someone and that person sues you, because the dog got off the leash, or the dog escaped the yard, or bites another dog, and they sue you. Boom, that's when your casualty insurance pops in. So if you're found at fault for auto accident, that's your liability, right? So the property insurance covers the property, covers the car. The casualty insurance will cover, or the liability insurance will cover your liability. So those are the two basic tenets of insurance. And then from there, you've got stuff that we specialize in. And of course, we'll get into that more later.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? That's actually a really good thing to actually thinking about, because not a lot of times do you actually hear about the casualty insurance part, right? Like that's something that I didn't even really know about. Being someone who does have a dog, um, and multiple different sources of liabilities that you can have at any given
Hmm.
moment where you could be at fault for something, or
Hmm.
something could happen. It's definitely something to actually take into account, to actually really focus on getting, just to protect yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you need it, especially if you're, like a small business, or an individual, you know, engaging in business. It's yeah, you're exposed every time you go into a deal with someone, whether it's a handshake deal or a contract. I mean, there's a lot of exposure out there, and unfortunately, we live in a very litigious society. I mean, people just love to sue people.
Oh,
You know,
unfortunately.
even if there's no merit, that's like, all right, cool. Like, I got enough money to, you know, ride this thing out for long enough to where I think I can get, a couple $1,000 just to go away. And
Right.
that's unfortunate, but that's the society we live in, and that's why insurance exists and continues to exist.
Yeah, that's it's definitely something that the average person doesn't even take into consideration, but very important to actually dwell on. So I appreciate the insight and the info on that. When it comes to MIV specifically,
Mhm.
what do you guys specialize in? What's the bread and butter there?
Well, as I mentioned, bread and butter is wineries. So we
Okay.
insure hundreds of wineries in the state and beyond. As you can imagine, we've been around since 1890. So I'd say, with wineries, we also insure, high net worth individuals that own said wineries and work at said wineries. So I'd say probably a bit, those are the two, kind of foundational um, industries, I guess you could say.
Yep.
But from there, winery owners, they buy restaurants. They they tend to be entrepreneurs that dibble and dabble in other ventures. I mean, a lot of wineries are built by contractors, so from there you get references. So when you've been around for a long time and you do a good job, and you're a family run operation, as we are, we still have three Malloys. Tom Malloy, is semi-retired, but he still shows up in the office here and there, and his son Tim Malloy is one of the partners, and Morgan Malloy, Tim's daughter and Tom's granddaughter, runs the personal lines department. So it's a family-run operation, and as you can imagine, people in Napa and Sonoma and Northern California, as you probably know, us growing up in Marin, they like to work with local people. They'd rather work with a local company that gives them a personal touch. So yeah, we my specialty. I was brought on here, due to my hospitality background and my
Mhm.
wine background. So I'm focusing on, wineries and all kinds of agriculture. So, anyone that's growing, herbs, fruits, vegetables, and processing those and distributing those, because there's a lot of crossover there. So from the wine business and the ag and the manufacturing, because that's all that making a wine encompasses all those aspects. You also have the tasting room. So I've got my hospitality background. So I
Yep.
also work with tasting rooms, bars, restaurants. And as you know, I also work in cannabis as well. So
Yep.
as once again, lots of crossover. You're cultivating the cannabis, you're processing the cannabis, you're packaging it, you're distributing it, and soon we'll probably have consumption lounges.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that's kind of my specialty. Agriculture, manufacturing, hospitality is kind of what I hang my hat on. But we do have multiple producers, and that's basically my position as an insurance. There's brokers that are producers, and there's brokers that are more account managers.
Okay.
And as a producer, that's kind of my specialty. We do have a litany of other producers in the office that kind of have their own little niches and specialties, but
Yep.
for the most part, our foundation is wineries.
Okay. Awesome. So, being a business owner and having to deal with insurance too, I have learned and found out that there's so many different aspects when it comes to insurance and different coverages that people should really look into, add-ons and et cetera. We heard about the cyber attacks that happened at the casinos in Las Vegas. And, when it came to hearing about that, when taking over a business and getting insurance, that was one of the last things I ever thought about, adding on to my plan and adding on to my coverage. What have you seen change now since cyber attack is becoming more prevalent and it's happening more and more these days?
Well, it's becoming way more prevalent, and what I've seen is, not only are these big companies and these big corporations targets for these bad actors, but small businesses are too, unfortunately. And these bad actors unfortunately do kind of have an idea or are able to procure some insider information to find out what their target can afford. So they're going to ask the MGM Grand for I don't know, hundreds of millions of dollars. But
Right.
if they are going to attack the local plumber, local painter, the gym, the restaurant, the bar, they're going to know they're going to only they can only ask for so much. So they're going to ask for maybe 50K, maybe 100K, depends on how prosperous you are. So unfortunately, a lot of small business owners think that because they don't have a large footprint, they may be well known locally, but if they're not known, no one's going to know that we exist outside of California or Northern California. Unfortunately, that's not the case. These bad actors are digging deep and finding crevices and cracks everywhere. And I just pulled some data before our meeting just to talk about this. And according to the 2023 Travelers Risk Index, 44% of businesses do not use multi-factor authentication. 50% do not have an incident response plan, and 64% do not use endpoint detection and response. Now, those are not insurance programs, right? But those are ways to mitigate your risk to make sure that you're not getting attacked, because that's the way that these bad actors get in. So what needs to happen, and I think we touched on this in our pre-meeting, is you need to have insurance to cover if something bad happens, but to make sure you're getting the best rate, you need to implement mitigation techniques as well. So you're going to need both, and there are some programs that provide both, but at this time they're not as prevalent. I think in the future there'll be companies or insurance programs that you can partner with, where you get a bundle. You get the loss mitigation software and hardware, and hard copy pamphlets or just digital PDF pamphlets that you hand out to your staff, and you also get the coverage as well.
Right. So talking about mitigation techniques, that's actually a really good point to kind of dig deep on
Segue.
right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, to kind of segue on. So, like different mitigation techniques that one could use for business owners like myself, or even someone getting home insurance. What are some mitigation techniques we can use to actually make ourselves better and more attractive um, to insurance carriers?
Well, so as you and many other people know, right now is a tough time for insurance for everybody, whether you're
Yeah,
a homeowner, uh, a car owner, or a business owner. And so there are many different techniques you can use. As I mentioned, you've got property and casualty, right? So, um, property wise, if you want, let's start with homeowners. Um, you know, hardening your home is something that you have to do. I mean, that's just the
yeah,
new reality, no matter
right,
where you live. I mean, so um, you know, hardening your home is means preparing your home, right? So it is, looking at your roof, looking at your vents, looking at your windows, looking at your uh, walls, looking at your decks,
yeah,
everything. So it's implementing, um, rebuilding, remodeling. Unfortunately, it costs money.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, I mean, you're doing two things. You're going to get yourself a cheaper insurance policy. You're going to be more attractive because, as you know, right now the market is depleted. It's very difficult to find any kind of primary market for homeowners insurance. So you're not only saving yourself or your home from catching fire, you're also making it more attractive to the insurance carriers um, to take you on as a client. Besides hardening your home, is working in the area around your home and reducing the risk there. They've got three different zones. There's zone zero, that's the first 5 feet within your home. So, they want to make sure that you're removing any kind of dead or dying plants, any kind of, branches from
yeah,
trees nearby. You may even have to cut down the tree nearby. And I know, and I was talking to a gentleman last week, and, you know, he had come to the grips with the fact that he's going to have to cut the tree down, but the wife was hanging on for dear life, hoping that that
yeah,
wouldn't be the case. But unfortunately, some of these beautiful trees have to come down, depending
yeah,
on the tree. And I recommend not doing large projects like that without talking to an insurance broker or carrier, and having maybe a local botanist or tree service come out and maybe do an audit to check it out. Any kind of combustible items, any firewood or lumber, you're not going to want that up against your build your home anymore. You want to put that away, put it in maybe a separate kind of shed that's covered in metal, or just moving it inside. Consider relocating your garbage cans and recycling containers if they are outside. You might want to put those in the garage. Because what's happening is, you get these small little embers and they're just landing on one thing, and boom.
boom,
Now that creates a huge fire. Then you've got zone one, which is, 30 feet out. And it's kind of the same idea. It's removing, dead plants, grass, weeds, dry leaves, and, if you're blowing them away, you're just kicking the can down the road because, there's, as you can think of, there's zone three. So if you're
yeah,
really removing any kind of leaves, any kind of dead plants, any kind of foliage or large branches, um, and then outside of that, it's the same stuff. Any kind of wood piles. If it's a home that has a propane tank outside of it, make sure the area around that propane tank is secure. Um, and yeah, those are the mitigation techniques you can use for property. Now,
right,
on the casualty side, uh, you know for homeowners, it is things like, making sure, and this kind of goes same with businesses, right? Making sure there is a minimal risk of slip and fall. Like if you have a guest over and
Mm.
they slip and fall, it's also not making sure that if you have teenage kids, they're not having parties at your house. Unfortunately, I mean, that's
Yeah.
a
Woo!
major risk. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're liable. Your kid's liable. So
Yeah.
if someone comes over, not, if somebody comes to do work, if you have a contractor doing work on your property, request a certificate of insurance from them. I mean, you want to make sure that anyone doing work on your property is insured themselves, because if they mess up and hurt somebody, let's say they're cutting the tree down for you to lower your your property risk, boom, branch falls off, hits them on the head. Guess who they're going to sue? The
Yeah.
homeowner. So when it goes to business, you have to implement a program. I mean, this an HR program. You have to, you know, sexual harassment training. You know, if your business requires any lifting or anything, you need to have uh, physical labor training. You need to have going back to cyber. You need training on how to navigate, because these bad actors, what they'll do is they'll send an email that look like it'll be one letter off, or there'll be an underscore, right? And if the email looks exactly, I mean, if you a quick look at the email and it looks like your boss's email or a colleague's email, they send you a link. Boom, you click the link, and now they're in. Or they'll say, "Hey, real quick, you know, I forgot to pay this vendor, 300 bucks for, a service they provided. I'm out of town, or I'm away from the office. Can you send money to this account?" And they send you a link or something. Boom, they're in. And once they're in, they can just steal your customers' information.
Right.
One, they can steal your information. Two, they can also lock you out. I mean, we're all reliant now on computers to run our businesses. That's just the bottom
Right.
line. There's very few businesses that don't utilize computer systems, so they can lock you out and then request a ransom
It's
to
crazy.
um, to get back in. And they'll also just, if you don't if you're not if you're like, okay, let's say you're a contractor, you're like, I don't need my computer that bad. Well, if you have any of your client's information in your database, then what they'll say is, okay, well, we're going to release this information, or we're going to use this information to release this information to the dark web, and we're going to let everyone know. We're going to let your clients know that you didn't want to pay the ransom to get their information back or keep their information secure. So they'll do anything and everything they can to get money from you. So there's many different mitigation techniques you can use, and they all kind of are tailored to what type of business you're doing. For instance, we specialize in wineries. We have a robust loss control department. They not only work with wineries, but they work within the office. Ergonomics is another thing, to make sure that your employees don't get carpal tunnel. So they'll do an ergonomic check
Yeah.
on your
Wow.
desk and your screens and your chairs. We'll also, with agriculture, if there's pesticides being used or anything, you know, making sure that there's proper masks worn and gloves, and because you don't want to
Right.
get that stuff on your skin. And forklift training, all kinds of stuff. So there's lots of different mitigation techniques you use.
Yeah.
Um, and so you just have to figure out what are the ones that are best tailored to suit you and your personal life and your business.
Yeah. And all very good points. And thank you for that. I think talking from personal experience, um, excuse me, one thing that I could definitely throw out there to whoever's listening basically is, you know, sometimes it's worth not saving that buck in
Yeah,
order to protect yourself. So I think when I first got into business, one of the things that you think about, of course, is how can you cut costs in certain ways, right? So a lot of people don't think of something like cyber, something like sexual harassment, right? You don't think, especially if you're in a small business and you don't have too many employees, you never think that's anything like that can happen. But we all know this life is full of it's full of surprises, which
Yeah.
are completely inevitable at any given time. Anything can happen. Um, so, for those of you who are listening, Aram brought up a lot of good points when it came to these mitigation techniques that serve as like preventative care for your business, and trying to prevent liabilities from happening that you could be at fault for. So definitely a lot of good things to really look into, especially becoming a business owner. Look into your insurance plan, really dig deep. The couple extra bucks that you might pay extra to include in your insurance plan could save you hundreds of thousands in the long run if something were to happen that is completely beyond you or your business. So those different casualties and having backup and plans in place in order to protect your assets, yourselves, uh, are vital. So when it comes to working with insurance brokers and people like Aram, it's worth hearing it out and listen to these professionals tell you about these different services and add-ons that you can do to really protect yourselves. Um, another thing about the fire hardening, being a realtor, there's actually disclosures out there these days that they've added within the last couple of years that serve as a purpose to really put the buyer, really protect the buyer and let the buyer
Yeah.
know of the different preventative maintenance that have happened on these properties in order to protect them and shield them away from fires, which unfortunately are another thing that's inevitable in a state like California, which now we've got California Fair Plans added on to home insurance. Being a first time home buyer, I can really attest to that. It's an added thing that really does add a lot to insurance. We also had a situation. We also had a situation too where that I didn't realize this is that we had a situation where the insurance actually reached out to us and told us about paint that we had to do to the house, shrubs, gutters that we needed to clean that were mandatory in order for our insurance to carry on. And this goes back to the mitigation techniques that these are what insurance companies are, and you could probably confirm this, but these are what insurance companies are cracking down on in order to even keep providing you this service, is that you, the homeowner, you, the business owner, have to do your part in this kind of preventative care treatment to your home in order to remain insured.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, to touch on, wildfires and to touch on the industry as a whole right now, if anyone is getting close to renewal or past renewal, or if anyone has had to talk about their insurance or upcoming or in the past, that, or if you bought a home recently, that right now the insurance market for homeowners is very hard. It's a hard market, and when we say hard market means it's just very difficult to find people coverage,
Yeah.
and that is because of the wildfires. So to go back a little bit into the background of why the market is so hard, we had all those fires all along, the western coast. I mean, even Australia, everywhere. The whole world is burning up.
Right.
We've gone through this, through seasonally through different areas, and so these insurance companies are, these carriers eventually are all, they're all global companies, right? So we broker with these carriers, and in California, we have an insurance commission that regulates the admitted market. So the admitted market is, the primary market for insurance. Most of these companies, you see their commercials on TV during football games, during Dancing with the Stars, during your reality shows, whatever you watch. Insurance commercials are everywhere, and
Yeah.
that's one of the first things I noticed when I joined. Like, I didn't even realize how many. We got
Right.
Jake from State Farm, we got the Allstate guy, we got the all kinds of stuff going on. So that's the admitted market, right? And the admitted market is regulated by the insurance commission. So after all these, I mean, these insurance companies are businesses, so they have to stay in business at the end of the day. And just like if you get in an accident or if you get points in your license or you're a hazard, your car insurance rates are going to go up. The more losses you have, your rates will go up. And so what happened is they had major losses all over the world. And so what the insurance company said to the commission was like, hey, listen, even though some people may have not lost their home or had a loss, we need to raise rates for everybody to make ourselves whole again. Well, the commission, in hopes to protect the consumer, denied that, or they just gave them, okay, maybe you can raise 10-20%, but they gave them a cap. So what happened was the primary market carriers, all the big guys, all the farmers, the state farms, the Safecos, the Geicos, they're all like, we're out. Fine. If you're not going to let us raise the rates, we're out. So slowly but surely they started not admitting new customers. And now what they're doing is they're looking for excuses to drop customers, or they're just giving these customers, guidelines. Listen, if you want to stay with us, you have to do the X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And so, and then what they're doing with the insurance brokers is they're giving us a limit of how many, policies we can write a month. And for a company like ourselves at MIV, where we've been around for a long time, we've got a robust list of clientele. At this point, we're just trying to keep our current people, because we only can write, an X amount per month. So we just try to keep the people that we have and keep that customer service. And we'd love to help new people coming in. But I had a chat with a lady before I came on with you, and I told her, listen, if they're going to renew you, I know it's a lot more expensive and they're asking you to do this, this, and this, but I'd love to take your business, but your best bet is to stick with them for now. Let's talk in a year. Let's talk in 6 months. Let's see what happens. So that is why the market is so hard right now. And then the FAIR plan was put into place so that all California property owners could have access to basic fire insurance, because now, some of these companies are saying, okay, fine, we'll cover everything except fire. And that's when you go to the secondary market as well. I mean, if you're going into that area, we'll go to the secondary market. The secondary market's not regulated, so it's always more expensive. It's always been an option for high risk areas, but now the secondary market is inundated because there's nothing to find in the primary market. And the secondary market now, they don't have as much competition, so the rates are through the roof. So it's not cheap. And, the secondary market may say, hey, we're going to cover everything except for fire. So then you have to add on the FAIR plan. And the FAIR plan is actually there. It's a safety net. California doesn't want you on the FAIR plan. Believe me, they're not in the insurance business. So, ideally, they're going to get people off of it eventually once we implement these techniques. And, they've raised, I've read some things where they're raising the values, because of, unfortunately too, some of the FAIR plan for the high net worth individuals is not covering all their property. So like if their home burns up, like the home may be rebuilt, but it's not going to cover any of the stuff inside, or they're not going to even be able to rebuild the home all the way with what they get from the insurance company. So unfortunately, we are in a difficult situation right now with the FAIR plan, with the carriers, with just finding coverage for people. But the good news is the insurance commission and the carriers, they're in conversation. And there should be a softening of the market down the road, whether that's 1 year, 2 years. Well, what needs to happen is not only do that, they have to raise rates. And that's the bad news. They're going to raise the rates. So we're looking at a insurance market where it's going to be close to what they deal with in Florida in their hurricane season. So in Florida, people that live in Florida in a hurricane zone, their home insurance, or Louisiana, their home insurance is significantly higher than what we used to have in California. Guess what? It's gonna go up. So the bad news is it's going to be more expensive. But hopefully the market will soften. We'll have less wildfires due to the state getting their act together. And I mean, who knows if the state's going to get their act together ever? But hopefully the state, implements the mitigation techniques. The population as a whole implements the mitigation techniques, and as a group effort, we reduce our wildfire risk. Unfortunately, we're just going to get to a point where the market's soft again, but it's not. It's still not going to be cheap. It's not. It's never going to go back to what it was.
Right. Yeah, unfortunately, that's just the direction we're going. We all wish we could go back to what it was, but
Yeah.
even gas prices won't even do that. So,
Hmm.
completely understood. So, hey, last but not least, I have to say, so for all you
Yeah.
guys watching, for all you guys watch these videos, you see Aram's name under the screen, under his screen, you see his information on where you could reach out to him. For anybody looking for anything insurance question wise, his contacts are below his wonderful name. Please support the man, my brother. He's here, he's a professional, but most importantly, he's an even better human. So reach out to him. Any questions? He's a very knowledgeable guy and can definitely help you guys out. So I've got to ask you one last question.
Yeah.
What sets MIV apart from all the different insurance firms and brokers? Talk to me.
Well, I mean, I think you kind of said it. Humbly. I think that I like to treat people as they deserve to be treated, and they like to be treated. I'm a big proponent of the golden rule, but I
Yep.
like to put a little caveat on that because it said the golden rule is treat others as you would like to be treated. But at the same time, not everyone wants to be treated the same way. So I'm a little tough guy. I'm good with tough love. Some people need a little more,
Yeah.
hand holding and some more positive reinforcement. So I like to treat people as they like to be treated or want to be treated. I'm very hands on. I give 99.9% of my clients my cell phone number. You can call me. You can call me anytime. Like if I am busy, if I'm engaged in something that's important, I just won't answer, or I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I do have a do not disturb on my phone for a reason if I'm sleeping, but I'm always there for you. I'm always working. We are at MIV. Besides myself at MIV, our philosophy is being there for the long haul. As I mentioned, sometimes we're not a fit for somebody, and we will refer them to somebody else. So we're not there to, or we can find a policy for them, but they can go somewhere else to get something cheaper. So we're not here to try and make the quick buck. We want to be a long-term partner, and whether it's with us or with someone else. And like I said, that lady that called me earlier today looking for insurance for her 2 condos. I let her know, hey, listen. I looked. She sent me her policies. I looked at them or her quotes, and I said, the lady that you're working with, it looks like she's doing everything she can to get you the best rate. And unless you don't really like her, and you don't want to work with her anymore, or you have a personal issue with her, then I would stick with her, and then keep my number and call me in the future if anything changes. So in short, we're here to help, and that's another thing too. If someone wants to reach out and talk about their insurance, I'm more than willing to take the time and chat about it, even if you're not going to be my customer. So, like, even if you're not going to be signing up with MIV, I've got no issue, giving you advice or pointing you in the right direction. I don't know everything, I'm constantly learning. Um, and that I think that's something that we hang our hat on as well. We're not stagnant. We're constantly looking for new carriers, um, new programs that we can, help our clients, find the best solution for themselves, whether that's with us or with someone else. So, one last thing, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention. I kind of briefly mentioned it earlier. We do have a loss control department, a robust loss control department. Many of these insurance firms offer loss control to their clients, but they use a third party. So they say it's theirs, but it's really a third party that's implementing the strategies and whatnot. Here, it's all in house. Right outside my office here is a loss control department. We work close together, and They will go on site. There's an online portal. There's all kinds of templates that you can use that'll get you compliant with Cal OSHA and whatnot. And in turn, it also these loss control and mitigation techniques, those will also lower your rates, because a lot of carriers ask, oh, do they have a go back to work plan? Are your employees CPR certified? Do they know what to do if if someone has an allergic reaction? So all these things, it lowers your risk, it lowers the chance of there being a loss, and it also gets you cheaper insurance. And for our clients, we offer that for free.
Nice.
And yeah. And actually, the loss control department does get hired out to other companies so you could pay for it. So they're not third party, they're in-house, but our department also generates income for the company by providing their services to people that are not our clients. Usually they end up coming over because they figure these guys are great. We might as well sign up. Yeah, we might as well sign up with them, because then we're going to get this service that we're paying for now for free. Right. So that's another thing that really sets us apart. We're too big to be small, but we're too small to be big, I guess. Right. So we're a family-run operation, but we have the financial backing of a high-powered firm. So I think those are the things that kind of set us apart, and those are our differentiators. I have kind of cheesy acronym. I care. So I
love it.
Communicate.
I love it.
I communicate. I'm accountable. Yeah. I respect my clients, and I'm efficient. So CARE.
Yeah.
I care. I'm a care bear. I'm a care bear.
Hey, you know what? And I love it. And you guys are top it off. And not only is he all that, but in my mom's eyes, he's a model too. So
come on. I don't know about it. I think those days have gone past, unfortunately. But hey, Kathy, I love Kathy. I love you, Kathy. If you're watching, I want you to tell your mom I love her. And yeah, it was great talking to you, Jabbar. I really appreciate you bringing me on and allowing me to share what I'm doing these days, and hopefully we can help some people together. And yeah, thank you very much.
No, absolutely, brother. Thank you so much for your time. And once again, everybody, his contact information is right underneath his name, A Roubinian at mivinsurance.com, 707-968-4271. My brother,
yes, sir.
Aram Roubinian, thank you for your time, my man. I love you.
Thank you, my friend. Love you too, brother.
All right. Take care.